really proud of TJ the last 3 months. He is, I think, just, he's changed his focus in terms of his priorities. When I say that, I mean my daily routine to my habits, matching up with my goals and my dreams. And what you got now is, he's gained, 15 pounds. He weighs 216 right now. Coach thinks he'll have him up over 220 by the summer. The way he comes into the building, he's ready to go. This is a TJ Vasher, I think, at this point right now, I'll just say it, at this point that we all want right now. And he's really working on his game, and I think he has a chance to, if he stays focused and does what he needs to do, he'll have a really good senior year.
So his commitment, was that because of any off-season conversations, or is that just because he's a senior maybe and with some self-realization?
I think those conversations started last January, and I think maybe the seriousness of them, and maybe for TJ, maybe you can ask that to TJ, but I think, we've had multiple conversations throughout the year, and I just think TJ is a guy that's, kind of at the end of the season, the light, I think, kind of flickered, and it really flipped on in January. He did a lot of work on his own in the in the time that we were away in late December, and he came back ready to roll. He had a really good 7-week off season.
Is there any specific other way you might change up, like how you use him this year, or any other on-field things, or is it pretty much similar to what he's been doing?
I think we just you got to continue to get him the ball, whether it's quick game, it's drop back, it's play action. I think he's one of the best red zone threats, if not the best in the Big 12. When you're 6'6", you got basketball skills and long arms, and he can high point a ball. I think that's helps him in that area, but he's got to become a better route runner, a better open field wideout too.
Coach, how are the early enrollees looking? All Drew.
Yeah, sure. Devin Drew, still, he's big, he's strong, he's going to add depth to our D-line. Long ways to go. Krishan Merriweather has hit the ground running, literally and figuratively. The guy can flat run. The first 2 days he took 2 steps forward, he took 2 steps back, and he didn't even move out of that spot, and he still outran guys to the ball. Now he's really clearing his cleats, and you can tell he's really taken coaching. He made a couple really nice plays late in this practice today. Krishan's going to be a really, really good addition. Brandon Randall is limited right now. I had mentioned that because of his shoulder surgery he had last fall. Jalen Polk, I've talked about him, came in 180 pounds January the 15th. He weighs 196 today. And he's really done a lot of good work, and he's bought into the nutrition plan and eating right, lifting. It's important to him. He flashes. He's going with the twos at times, 2s and 3s kind of mix there. But when he gets out there, he does not stand out like a freshman that doesn't know what he's doing. I think he's got, obviously, a very bright future.
What about Ethan? How's he looking? Ethan Card?
Ethan Card, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot him. Still, kind of like Devin. And it's something that I think they'll be further along as spring goes on. Still very early. Practice for the O-line and the D-line. Playing receiver and playing linebacker is a whole lot closer to playing receiver and linebacker from high school to college than it is in the O-line, D-line. I think there's just such a bigger gap in terms of strength and girth that those guys still got to get.
What was the biggest learning curve for you? Because now you're year 2. You've already been through all the ropes of everything. So what, I guess, did you kind of take away from last year that you feel like, okay, now I can apply this to this season, this time around, I'm more comfortable?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'd probably just say this team, learning this team, coming in and knowing what they'd been exposed to, what they had not been exposed to, and buttons to push, things to continue to uphold and keep the standard, continuing to know your team. And I think as you do that and apply still what we do to this program, I think we'll keep getting better. This program is about recruiting and developing, and that was not going to happen overnight. No matter how much I knew or I didn't know, and how much I've learned since year 1, the development piece had to be there, and you don't develop a locker room overnight and really, really quick, and you don't recruit for depth in one quick recruiting class a year ago. And to get another full recruiting class in and even add some guys this spring. We need that depth. We need those numbers. And so that's been the plan since day one. So that hasn't changed. I think I just know this team a little better, maybe how to recruit to Lubbock a little bit better, and those are things that hopefully I and we keep improving on each year.
Coach, you mentioned recruiting. I know you can't mention anybody specifically, but had a couple big weekends already this spring. Big numbers, highly rated guys from 24/7 Sports and other recruiting services. Just can you go into that, how y'all have been able to accomplish that so far and what's gone into that?
It's called spending every day of recruiting. On recruiting, we take time every day, and whether it's phone calls to these high school coaches, it's evaluating tape, it's FaceTiming with these recruits. That's just so important, and it's constant touch. And you've noticed that 2 big junior recruiting weekends, and a lot of our first round draft picks have been on campus, and I can't be about any more blunt than that.
Right.
And what's interesting is to see the repeat trips to Lubbock. And that just takes a staff that's passionate about recruiting and that understands that the 2 ways to get this program where we all want it, and that's to get to the month of November and compete for a Big 12 championship, is you got to recruit and you got to develop, and that recruiting just can't stop. You got to go and go and go, and you got to keep getting these kids on campus. And we've had some of those, not mentioning them by names, but we've had guys multiple trips on campus. Guys that came in the fall as juniors, and they came in January. Now they came in again in March, and that's 3 trips. Some that have drove a long ways. Drove. What? Are you good on?
Drove.
Yeah.
And then the idea is to get them back in the summer. Is that
From
right?
Oklahoma.
If you can.
Yeah, the
Pro
idea is to
OBs.
get them here again in March and again in April before these coaches
Right.
keep as many times as we can expose our campus. And I think this place sells itself, and the people in Lubbock are genuine. The crowds at the basketball game are real. It's live. It's a great atmosphere, and they see that, and then they start going, all right, ×4 for Jones Stadium, and what's it going to be like to play here? And I think the vibe and the environment is big time here. The people around town treat our recruits well, and they can tell it's important to them, and the double T is important to these people around here. And I think the more and more we get these kids here on campus and you expose them to that, it's going to become like family and home. That's what we want it to become for these guys. And, we've got a few at practice today.
How satisfied are you now that the pads are on about how this team is practicing?
Better. Not where we need to be, but golly, so much further ahead than a year ago. But then I feel that way, and I feel real good, and then I'm going to go in there in just a second and watch the tape and go, well, he's not running the ball, that guy's not breaking the stack. But a lot further. Happy, not satisfied.
Which players are standing out to you now for practice today?
Allen had a good day today, so Roderick continues to run the ball hard. Up front, Zach Adams and Casey Verhulst have in Weston Wright look like they've played a little bit of football. I think they've starting to take another step. They need to. We've already talked about TJ Easy made a couple really nice catches in 2-minute drill today. Defensively, Krishan does stand out. Rico's changed his body. Rico Jeffers going to have a really good senior year. Not ready to talk about the D-line yet. And I think the DBs are, they're getting used to 2 new coaches. They are getting coached hard, and there's nowhere to hide back there. And we have some guys that are talented DBs, and they're learning some new stuff, which is good for them. I think it makes them a little uncomfortable, but they've got 2 veteran DB coaches that are doing a great job with them, and those guys are doing a really good job learning from them.
You mentioned FaceTime earlier. I've heard from a lot of recruits who really enjoyed that with y'all. When did you start? Did y'all do that at Utah State? And who decided to do that? How did that come
Yeah, it's kind of what we've always done a little bit. I would say it's a little bit more on steroids here at Texas Tech. Recruiting has to happen a little bit sooner here and a lot earlier and a whole lot more intentful, I would say. It's just a calendar and the process with these kids at a Big 12 school, and it's just FaceTime. It's a logo, it's face, it's them, and recognition. And I think, again, just being genuine, being very transparent in recruiting, and letting them see who we are. And how excited we are about recruiting them, but it's also about educating them about Texas Tech and our school and all the great things that we can offer them, but also where they fit. I think it's always important to put a fit in for them, and here's where you fit, here's the position, here's the plan, and then you're getting their parents on this phone, and then all of a sudden you look up and they're in Lubbock, and it's a third time for a kid from Houston, and you're like, wait, it's an 8-hour drive, and they're driving in. And so the more times we get them here, the harder it will be for them to say no.
What's your
Casey and Zach both been at the tackle position for you, right?
Yes. Yeah, but you know what? They're playing guard too. Coach Farmer does a good job of really cross-training those guys at times.
I was going to ask who kind of stepped up without Travis and Terrence. Big shoes to fill for whoever
Yeah,
does that.
it's big shoes for all of them, but there's some guys that do need to step up. Ethan's one of them. Zach, you mentioned Casey. Trevor Roberson's really playing guard and tackle. Weston's playing mostly inside at guard. Dawson at center. Will Farrar at center and guard. So a lot of those guys are getting cross-trained.
What's your plan for practice 5 since you can go full pads now? What's your message to
Yeah.
guys as they depart for spring break?
Yeah, stay away from the coronavirus. If you get tired, pull over, call me. That's the spring break talk that I'll give Thursday post practice. We're going to go scrimmage. We're going to scrimmage in the stadium, full pads. We'll go for about an hour and a half, probably about 85 plays. And so we'll have some drive-it situations, a backed up, some red zone, a 2-minute situation. So it'll be a standard scrimmage one for us in spring, Thursday.
Have you spoken to Jordan at all? I know he's at the combine and he's been killing it there. Jordan Brooks.
Brooks. Wasn't sure which Jordan you were talking about. Jordan Brooks, I have spoken to him. Yeah,
How's he doing?
he's doing well. Training, getting ready. Big pro day here in a few weeks here for him. Hopefully he can do some more drills and work out for those guys. But his stock's going up. I know he had some good interviews. I did get some good feedback from. Had 2 general managers reach out to me and said they had interviews and meetings with him, and I think he carried himself real well.
I didn't see
For about 2 more.
I didn't see Simon Gonzalez out there earlier. What is his status right now?
Suspended indefinitely.
Really? Okay.
When did that happen?
2 weeks ago.
Did a
Indefinitely.
team
Does that mean
rules
is there a
violation?
chance for him to come back?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
there's always
All
a
right.
chance.